Welcome back to the Takeout. Want to welcome to the conversation Democratic Congressman from Rhode Island, Gabe Amo. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on.
So give me your sense of where the Iranian war is right now.
Well, look, it's a multiple choice answer for those in the Trump administration, and the president and the secretary of defense seem to be saying different things. Just yesterday, where the president say that it was nearly over. And today we've had, as Secretary Hegseth has defined it, the most intense strikes. So what I see is uncertainty, not only in the conflict, but for the American people who are going to start to experience the high costs of this war in more than one way.
The next thing you're going to have to decide is a supplemental spending request that's going to come from this administration to fund the Pentagon. It could be as high as $50 billion. It could be higher than that. What's your attitude about that?
Well, my perspective is approving additional funding for a war that we have not actually approved is inconsistent with what our Constitution says, and certainly gives an endorsement to the president for this illegal war that he's been carrying out. And so I cannot, in good conscience, say today, with no timeline, with no purpose, and with no real end game, that I could support a supplemental for request for funding.
I want to talk to you about Cuba because I want to play some sound from the president yesterday about that. Please play it.
It may be a friendly takeover. It may not be a friendly takeover. It wouldn't matter because they're down to, as they say, fumes. They have no energy. They have no money. They're in deep trouble on a humanitarian basis, and we don't want to see that.
Such thing, Congressman, from your perspective, as a friendly takeover, and do you think the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, as the president implied yesterday, could take over that job as well?
Well, look, Secretary Rubio has worn many hats, but he hasn't done any of those jobs well, and jobs that we require a commitment to values that we share. And one of those values is that the president cannot arbitrarily decide when he is going to take over a country. This imperialist presidency that we've experienced over this past year, especially over the last few months, leaves our world less safe. And ultimately, the hemispheric power that Donald Trump seeks is not something that anybody in Cuba has signed on to. The people of Cuba deserve freedom and dignity, and they are going through a humanitarian crisis at the moment. Look, if there are real and robust diplomatic measures taken, that is a conversation that should happen, but not another takeover from Donald Trump, who thinks he rules the world.
As you are probably aware, Congressman, lines are lengthening across the country at airports because TSA employees not receiving a paycheck are having to make other plans other than being at their day job because their money is not making it as far as it used to. When and how is this going to be resolved?
Well, as a member of Congress, I find myself in airports quite often. And it's important to me that the TSA agents are paid like they deserve to be for the important work that they're carrying out. And that's why many Democrats, including myself, have said, let's fund the rest of the Department of Homeland Security except for ICE. Because right now, Donald Trump is making a choice. He'd much rather have ICE continue to brutalize our communities than he would like to address the important needs of ensuring the people of the Coast Guard, of TSA, of vital Department of Homeland Security agencies get the support that they deserve. And so that's the choice. And the president continues to pick terror over bringing the necessary support to those essential federal workers.
Is that practical, Congressman, to write legislation that only funds some fractional part of the Department of Homeland Security?
It is. I mean, we just have to author the bill that way. Remember, the Department of Homeland Security gave themselves, right, a slush fund in the big ugly law H.R. 1. And so Donald Trump has already said that we're treating the work of ICE separately from that of the rest of the department and giving them $75 billion on top of all of the appropriations that they've received. So to me, it's very clear that we can separate ICE out and rein them in so communities don't live in fear of the terror that we've seen.
Timeline for that?
I think the timeline is now. I mean, we have to move as quickly as possible. Democrats have offered up in negotiations alternatives to the status quo of ICE carrying out its tactics. And so the administration has a choice. They need to come forward with a plan to make sure that ICE is unmasked, make sure that they're complying with local laws, that the policies and procedures aren't hurting the American people. This is something that can be done, but the Trump administration would much rather continue to see the abuses that we've experienced over the last year.
Rhode Island Democratic Congressman Gabe Amo, I appreciate the time, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.